What's up, guys? So last time we spoke, before my memory card got full and external hard drive got full and all this crazy stuff that happened, I was working on the intercooler piping. I got that finished up and I got it welded at Bean Fab. I could put their information in the description because they do really nice work. I also got my mid pipe welded because the exhaust was rubbing on my axle, so I had to notch it, do the same thing I was doing with the intercooler piping. Also, I'll show you, we got the Radium fuel rails in, air motive fuel pressure regulator. I got catch can, which I'm told now I should probably get an air oil separator, so we'll see what I do. With the rails, you can see they're upside down because the way these are meant for a version. Oh shit.
Right after this, for some reason, I lost all audio on almost all the clips, so I'm gonna do a quick voiceover for you guys. Right here, I have Radium top feed conversion fuel rails. These are meant for a JDM version 3 through 6 EJ motor. They actually didn't fit when I first got them, but I decided to flip them over, and out of chance, they fit really well. Right now, this is just for mock-up. I decided to run -6 fuel lines to an air motive fuel pressure regulator in the parallel fuel setup. Running parallel fuel rails is way better than the stock setup. It keeps equal fuel pressure on all the cylinders. You can run more power, and it allows better cooling to cylinder 4, which tends to fail most often. To keep the fuel temps down, considering some of the lines are running very close to the turbo, I decided to put Thermaltech heat wrap on the fuel lines, as well as the harness that runs under the intake manifold, considering it was fairly brittle from the past 26 years. Now with all the lines ran and heat shielded, since the intake manifold is off, we can officially put in the injectors and injector seats for good. These rails require us to run ID injectors. My tuner told me to run 1,000 cc's or more, so I got ID 1050X injectors. The injectors that are meant for these rails are ID 1050X 481414, which has a 14mm top bore, 14mm bottom bore, and 48mm in height. That requires an injector seat adapter, which actually came with these rails, luckily. And when I got the injectors, it said, I believe they were for an Acura RSX. These rails actually came with a -8 hole in the bottom, so here I got 2 plugs for them. They're -8 ORB plugs, and I ordered black, but they gave me blue, so I'm just gonna use it. Also got a vacuum line for the fuel pressure regulator. Now the intake manifold could go on for good. Just gonna button up all the fuel lines, and then we could test the system for leaks. battery's now in, so I can prime the car and check for any fuel leaks. Just keep your eyes open when you do this to make sure you don't see any leaks, as well as make sure you don't smell any. In my case, I still can't believe I did this. It's actually kind of hilarious. And I didn't even notice the first time. As you see, I look over the engine bay, didn't see anything, walk back, keep an eye out, and I did it again. I forgot to plug in the fuel feed, which of all things to miss or have leaking is the one that would spray the most fuel everywhere. Oh boy. Seriously, of all things that I could have missed. But at least nothing else happened, and I cleaned it up, checked again, and there were no more leaks. Nothing to see here, just a pool of fuel under my battery. Oh boy, oh boy. Now I route my oil catch can to the heads and see what the fuel rails and fuel lines interfere with. One thing that happened to be a problem with the new fuel rail and fuel lines is the lines for the power steering pump. If you look on the intake runners, there's two rectangles that have threads. That's where the hard lines would route. Now they actually run into the fuel rail. These are the hard lines I'm talking about. So the fitting on the end here, I need to get an adapter for to adapt it to -6 AN line. But this being the high pressure hose, I had to get high pressure AN line from Earls, as well as high pressure hose fittings from Earls, which I did. And they end up running from here around the fuel rails under those vacuum lines. On the other end of the power steering line, near the power steering rack, I actually got a stainless steel fitting from Amazon, cut the hard line, and had Bean Fab welded on for me. You can see that the fitting itself was welded very nicely, and it's going to get some paint over it before I put it back on the car. One other thing that was interfered with when putting the fuel rails and lines on the car was the coolant reservoir. It sits right above the new rails, and the power steering hard lines actually ran underneath it prior, so there's no surprise that this was having trouble fitting back on. If you look right in the center of the photo where those two bolts are with that aluminum plate, I just took 1/4 inch aluminum to raise it up a little and did the same on the mount for the bottom of the coolant reservoir. So that'll be it for this video. Sorry that it wasn't the best, considering I ran out of space on my memory card and external hard drive all at the same time. So this is what I had, and I hope this is helpful for anyone who is doing it. If you have any questions, just let me know, and in the description I'll list the part numbers for the rails and injectors I used. But other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.